So Michael, you would have seen recently, David Pocock in an interview said that he was uncertain whether contact sport would last in 50 years' time. That's particularly surrounding concussion, and more specifically CTE, which is a progressive neurodegenerative condition. What particular types of concussion are there?
I think it's a common misnomer around concussions that they're all the same. There's actually 5 different ones relating to cervical, ocular, vestibular, post-traumatic migraine, and then mood and anxiety. So it kind of explains why different concussions result in different symptoms. Sometimes you see people falling over, losing balance. Others, you see mood swings. It's because there are different types of concussions. And I think it leads to what the current governance is, where it's a one-size-fits-all, where you get cited, someone watches and sees someone concussed or presumed to be concussed, they get removed from the game, they do the same test, and there is somewhat of a uniform removal and restriction from play, usually around 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the concussion itself. Some sports have wearables, so rugby union has a mouth guard that's got a little chip in it. But there's been issues around having false positives. Guys have been wearing the mouth guard in their pants during warm-up, they get a knock, they get removed from the game because it's presumed to be a concussive incident, but it's obviously not, and that kind of lends itself to misunderstanding, but also the state of medical knowledge around concussions.
It's illustrative that governance doesn't fail at the rule-making level, it fails at the implementation, and you can see that from a recent incident with Eli Katoa in the Pacific Nations Championship, where a number of medical practitioners got 24-month bans. But moving forward, we've got the UK High Court case, which is involving certain World Cup winners like Steve Thompson, with over 1,000 former players taking on World Rugby in relation to a negligence case where they say the World Rugby ought to have known about the risk or inherent risk of concussion in the sport. They argue that there was information as far as 1975 which they could have lent upon, and then obviously that goes into the principle of informed consent, which is essentially World Rugby's defence.
Yeah, and I think there's a few more cases going on. I'm aware of the AFL class action going on, and then obviously I guess the most famous one that was in a movie with Will Smith was the NFL class action that I think settled for around $750 million US. So do you think there's going to be more cases coming forward?
I think it all rests upon how this UK High Court case goes, and including the AFL case, that's still currently ongoing in the Supreme Court of Victoria, and they're hoping that there'll be a trial date in 2027. So really we're at a nice stage as where this goes, because the UK High Court case, that's going to resonate everywhere, and then certainly change governance if the class action is successful.
And I guess you talked about the informed consent. What's the idea around informed consent? What is it exactly?
Well, essentially at the moment it's a tick box exercise, which players like ourselves, which we've been involved in, are having concussion videos put forward and then boxes to tick at the end. Certainly it's something that needs to be improved. People need to know about the inherent risks of subconcussive impacts and what that means to then make an informed decision themselves.
I guess it also goes to you and I both aware, having played and currently still playing. Informed consent usually requires that you're free of duress and other undue influence. Now, I wouldn't expect players to say that there isn't duress when they're expecting to get back on the field. Do you think players are capable of giving informed consent to concussions?
I think it's difficult from a personal standpoint. I think, you want to be playing the full game, so if you're getting a knock in the middle of the game, it's hard to be taken off. You need to be essentially grabbed by the collar. But that duress goes towards medical practitioners and physios that are on the field also. I think there needs to be reform as to game day medical practitioners. They need to be free of competitive duress. And that's something that's really important. It needs to be taken out of not only the player's hand, but of the club's hands as well.
That makes sense. And I think probably something a bit left of centre is similar to maternity leave, where mothers are guaranteed their position coming back to work and they can't be no worse off. Potentially something around players not losing their spots. Now, obviously they will have competitive tensions and high performance. It's difficult to implement, but potentially lend itself to players being more willing to come forward and say that they've had head knocks.
100%, and that just goes, we've spoken previously about contracts and the tension and duress that people feel under those, and I think that lends into the fact that concussion can cause that duress. And if you take that out again, like you say, if there's that, thinking outside the box and with those kind of things, then certainly it's something to think about.
And in regards to protections for players, I'm aware that there's no workers' compensation for players because elite sport is considered inherently risky. And then we've also seen Zurich withdraw concussions from their insurance regime with the AFL. Is there any way to protect players to enhance life after sport?
Well, certainly, I think that can be done within the contract. I think there can be clauses that cover medical attention post-retirement. Certainly, it's a concerning position to be in with Zurich removing the TPD cover for AFL, leaving over 500 players without cover for certain injuries, head knock injuries and CTE. But at the moment, at the current stage we're in now, we've got insurance companies and frameworks such as work cover stepping away, but nothing being implemented at the moment. So it's a concerning point to be in at the moment.
So where do you see it going from now? I mean, we've got a senator and former Wallaby saying he's not sure the future of the contact game. We've got insurers pulling out insurance. There's no legislative regime to protect players. And there is only more and more scrutiny going on around concussions, and parents are more aware and probably less likely to put children into contact sports. Where do you see it going to from here?
Well, I'm hoping that Mr. Pocock's comments are a catalyst for change, in my opinion. I think science is going to be ever progressing, but with that, so can governance, and so can the legal framework surrounding it. So I'm really hopeful that the powers that be are keeping an eye on what's going on, and including what's going on in the UK High Court case and the AFL case and previous precedents. And so I'm hoping that governance improves as the science improves.